But how long will it take for the
10 minutes.
Okay, I'll just start off before. No, I think let them also join. Meanwhile, I'll just have a little interaction after that. It's fine, no? Right, okay, hi. Kamal, I work in Times of India. Where are you from? I'm not.
We are from VIPs International.
VIP?
International.
Where is that? I'm not from Hyderabad, so let me speak. I'm still getting used to the places. Where is this school?
It has 8 different branches at different locations.
Okay, but where is the main school?
Currently we are coming from Chandragutta branch.
Okay, and which classes are you from?
11th and 12th.
11th and what is the color difference? There is some blue and there is
8
some.
to 12. Those are 9.
You're from the 9th, and the greens are all from the
11th and 12th.
11th and 12th. How many 12th is? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4. Yeah, and how many 11th? Okay, so that's equal numbers, and 9th are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why did the 9th standard? Why did you come? How did you come into this? You wanted to listen to this? Okay, great. So you have some plans to start something? You have? Okay, lovely. So how many of you here has some plans to do something of your own? Or you just wanted to listen to this? Anybody has a plan? Any women? Any girls rather? I don't know whether I should call you women or girls. What is good? Women or girls? What do you prefer? Women? Fantastic, okay. So that's a little more matured way of treating yourself. Very good. So how many of you want to be entrepreneurs? Everybody, okay. Are you nursing some ideas in your mind as to what you should start? Have you discussed that with somebody? Or is it only in your mind at this point? It is within you, not spoken about. Have you spoken that to your friends? Somebody, and are they willing to, are they excited about this idea? Yes. They are? Okay. And how many of you guys are thinking of doing something of your own? Anybody? Anybody is having a plan to start something of yourself? Yes or no? Don't be shy. It's like, I'm not from Hyderabad, so you have to make me feel home. So if you keep quiet, that's going to be a trouble. Doesn't work. So boys don't want to be an entrepreneur? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Can I hear it a little more louder if it is yes?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Hear us. So have you guys spoken about your ideas to somebody?
No.
No? It's all within at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Have you spoken to your parents about this?
No.
No? What if you tell them about your business ideas? What do you think the reaction would be? Get lost? Are you out of your mind? Go study. What was your last exam score? Are these questions typically? So is that why you don't want to talk about it?
Yes.
Good, okay. So we all go through this, it's nothing, even as a parent today, that's typically how I would react to my kids too. Yeah. I'm just taking little time so that others also coming, so that we also get to know each other a little more. I think Muskan is here. She's a lady who's...
We can begin in next 2-3 minutes.
2-3 minutes, they'll come? So that's one. So Muskan is the lady from Boa. She's got some Ferrero Rocher chocolate. So depends on how active you are, how interactive you are. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. Just to be a little active and engaging. That's where it is coming. So I'm giving it to her. So she will give it to people who are a lot more engaging and interactive there. Okay, only 4 others. So you need to catch up quickly whenever there is an opportunity. So to give you a brief introduction about myself, I'm Kamal Krishnan. I'm basically from Kerala. Did my schooling, if you know the school called Sainik School, which is a military, it was created by the central government to get people to join military services, which is as an officers in various defense services. So I did my schooling there, did my graduation in literature, English literature. Then I did my MBA from one of those universities in Kerala, after which I stepped out of Kerala to work in Bangalore. So I wanted to work in advertising because I thought I was good with writing. I used to read a lot. So I thought maybe combining this creative thing which I thought I had. I thought I maybe combine that with some business interest, probably that could work well. And I joined advertising long back in 97 after my MBA. So it might sound very ancient to you when I say 97 and around that. Okay, but yeah, we are ancient. So I joined advertising because I used to be I hardly used to be in classes forever, from after school, which was you had to do it. But after that, I was always more doing a lot of other work outside of classrooms, good, bad, ugly, everything was part of it. And then but one of the spaces that I used to spend a lot of time was libraries. So one of those days in the library when I was browsing through advertising, I came across this line which said, advertising is the most fun you can have with your pants on. Sounded very interesting, a little quirky. So I thought maybe I should pursue that. So I wanted to join ad agencies in those days. It was quite glamorous, and you see all those very fun-looking, nice-looking advertising, and you wanted to join an agency. So luckily, I got through one of the best agencies in the country on the creative front. Then I worked in a couple of agencies. Then I worked in telecom, which is today taking away all our lives. No, it has gone into our bathrooms, bedrooms, wherever you think about. You can't be without your mobile, right? So whether it is good or bad, I think if I carry any guilt in my life at work, this is only guilt because we were the initial people who made people to start using mobile phones. They didn't want it. They didn't know why mobile phone and all that. But then we were the ones who launched the service in the country, made people, suddenly you're on the road and say, all those days it was only those wired phones. I don't know whether you've made a call on your normal phone. Have you ever done a call with your wired phone? You've done? Oh, so you're still not to the latest of those. I think one behind the generation that we can call. So those days it was only that, having a phone at home was luxury. So, which was a wired one. So to get somebody to step out of home, even step out of the room, step out of home, go into the middle of the road and make a call to whoever you want was like a big surprise for people. So we identified people, made them to use the phones, and today, now you can't take it off them, So we were one of those, or rather those people who made people to get attached to the phone. We did so many, good, bad things to make people, if you can call it, addicted to the mobile phone.
Sir, so
right?
do you regret on it?
Sometimes I regret, yeah, because I remember we used to work with a lot of entrepreneurs, businessmen, because they used to be the ones who were mostly benefited. A call was 18 rupees per minute, whether incoming or outgoing. So only rich people could afford to do it, right? So I remember meeting one of them after giving the phone to, we identify people who can afford these kind of phones those days, pick them up and give the phones to them, so just keep it. I don't have to pay anything, just keep this phone with you. I'll come back and pick it up for after a month. But when we come back after a month, I want it. So one of them, and we used to educate them over that 1 month period. There'll be telecalling people, there'll be mailers which go to them and tell them, this is how to use the phone, this is how to dial the phone, this is how, Now you might find it very crazy for someone to think like that, but it was like that, It's how do you make a voicemail, how do you put an SMS, WhatsApp was not there that time. So then after the month, when you go back and want to pick the phone back from them, they say, no, can I take the phone back? And this was precisely the idea of giving it free to them that time, right? And I remember one of them saying that, those days telling me that we wanted people to endorse how beneficial these phones are. And one of them telling me, it was in Tamil Nadu in Salem, one of them telling me that time, I can be even away from my wife, I can be without my children now, but I can't be without this phone. Back in 97, I'm telling you, So that time it was very happy to see that your work is, it is fulfilling, it is working. But today, sometimes, it is not so great. We are also, because the same company which I used to be working, which was the BPL Mobile, which turned into Hutch and Vodafone. So that's the telecom that I worked in. So we used to have a campaign called Look Up. I don't know if you've seen those campaigns of Vodafone which says Look Up. What was Look Up? So it shows, if you actually just go out on the street or on a mall or any public place, if you go, can you visualize how people will be? They'll all be like this on the phone, right? So they don't look up at all. So I remember Vodafone had to do this campaign to please look up and see what is around. We made all the people to look on the phone for a long time, spend more time on the phone to do a campaign telling people back to please look up and see things around was obviously coming out of, I'm saying, whether it is a guilt or, sometimes we overdo things, so we sometimes make it so addictive to people. So to take a little seat back and tell them, there are so many other things which are happening in the world. So that is where it is.
Sir, what was your position in that?
I was looking after the communication, which is a brand communications, right? So all the advertising related things, whatever that you see externally, internally, all that was part of the team, not that I created it. I'll also touch upon those. So I worked in telecom for a long time. And those days it was conceptually there that this is one small device which will integrate the world. While we could not imagine at that point in time, today it is like that. Everything works on your mobile, right? So I also worked little brief on internet space for a little time. That was in Hyderabad for 1 year when internet was started. The dot-coms, what we call, when a new set of entrepreneurs started coming into the world, making millions overnight. Then I moved into media. I was heading one of the radio stations nationally from Kerala. Then I worked in Times of India, worked in another publication, all heading nationally. And then came to Hyderabad 4 years back with Times of India. I'm heading the business for Times of India. Okay. And what do we do in Times of India? We work with clients. We work with clients, local clients, or clients from here who want to go national, right? So imagine a company here who wants to go national to do certain business from, let's say in Delhi, which they're not familiar with. The environment is not familiar with. The business situations are not familiar with. So we handhold them because we have a setup there. We have the largest network in the country in terms of media businesses. So we help them to, take it from one to another. Also, not just advertising. We also intervene into their businesses. Sometimes a business has a logistics problem. A particular area is not working for them. For example, Fevicol will come and talk to us and say that Hyderabad is good, but this particular market is not working. Can you help to intervene, to do some specific things about? Maybe there are a couple of people who need to be handled, certain distributors to be handled there, some dealers to be handled, certain set of people to be handled there. So how do we create certain affinity with them, which the logistics or the sales team is not able to get? How can we intervene? So we intervene into businesses. Sometimes they need a connection, a network to be built or partnerships to be built. So we work wherever a business needs interventions or whatsoever. Even let's say, even it means policies. Let's say you are from the education background. Now the new national education policies are coming in. There are good, bad. I don't know. I'm assuming that nobody reads paper here. Does anybody read newspaper here? So I was right. So fair enough. So if you look into today's Times of India, there is an article about the education policies. Probably will be out by then, but I think the 9th standard will definitely have to go through those brand. So a principal talking against and a principal talking for, so those debates, all these are things. Why do we do it? Because these voices have to be heard, right? A principal speaking in his or her college or school doesn't really help to change the policy. You need to reach out to the policy makers. Could be government, could be bureaucrats, could be certain other policy influencers. So to reach out to them, what is the best thing? You need to use the media there, right? So we give voices, opinions of people through various media, whether it is print, television, digital, whatever that you can speak about. So that's one of the prime reasons why media exists. You and me and people in our ecosystem to reach out to the right people in the right way. Obviously, there could be different opinions or biases that you might find, but end of the day, that is what we also want it, unless it doesn't backfire on us, right? So you also want media. How many of you are on social media here? Everybody is. Somebody who's not on a social media? Nobody. Okay, there's somebody. What's your name, please? Akshay. Okay, right, great. So that's good to see, good or bad, but it's good to see somebody who's still not wanting to use it. Consciously, I'm sure, Akshay definitely has made a conscious decision not to get. I know sports people. My daughter used to be a swimmer. She was a national level swimmer. So it was very clear that, you should not use media, social media. All of them, if you look at all the internationals, they all avoid social media, not because of anything else. Sometimes it's a distraction. You swipe, you want to see something, but then it will show you whatever you don't want to see also sometimes, right? And then you get carried away. You don't know how the day ends. By the time you look up, your day is over. So, yeah, so that's about me in a nutshell. So worked in communications mostly with advertising, telecom, media, all that. So what I thought to share today was I'm closely working with Baba for last couple of months, and we get to see a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. And it's good to see that you guys from school, when I say guys, please don't get me wrong, there is just about a neutral word. It's good that, I was in Cochin last week, for example. I was in Cochin last week. I was taking a couple of sessions in colleges, MBA schools, and I asked them, how many of you want to be entrepreneurs? In a room of 100, just 2 of them. I said, where are you guys? Here I'm seeing students from school coming and attending sessions on entrepreneurship where, an MBA school in Cochin is hardly having 1 or 2 hands raised for entrepreneurship. Maybe that's a choice, but I think the world is evolving. All of us want to do our own business sometimes, so it's good to see all of you, and these are opportunities which we didn't have probably those days. Like I said, if somebody were to come and tell me, or maybe if I had gone to my father and said, I want to do a business tuck, and that ends it, So it used to be like that. So at least you guys are encouraged. The school is encouraging you, the management is encouraging you. And I think the world is moving towards creating a lot more entrepreneurs in the country. At least, if not a business, what essentially it means is, it is about having that mindset. There are 2 contradicting thoughts that are happening right now. I hope you've heard of this controversy with Narayan Murthy talking about you need to work some 16 hours, and all of you really, when Basar Kandi, internet saying what, but and that's one part of it, where people of the older generation or people who have made it big in their life still talking about working extra hours, right? Whether it is 16 hours or 10 hours, that's not a point, to put in some extra effort other than your normal routine work. But then there is another new set of generation who is coming and saying that I just want to do my job. Don't call me after that. 9 to 5 means I'll be there 9 to 5. After that, leave me alone. I have my personal life to do. So these 2 are things. But what in business, whether it is entrepreneur or you're working somewhere, okay, everybody at the owner's level or at a senior manager's level need more involvement from the people. It cannot be always a 9 to 5 job, right? So it is talking about the mindset there, that this is your thing, you need to work a little extra if it is needed. At that point in time, not to be saying that my time is over, I'm going. Right? It's a loss sometimes about business or an opportunity there. So that's it, I think. Can we start? I think now I have some water. I kept some water here. Yes. So I'm going to take you through. Okay, this picture, I was in Cochin, Kerala last week. There is a beautiful thing called Theyyam. Theyyam is a folk art which is practiced in one part of Kerala, northern Kerala. So I captured some visuals. I thought I'll rather put to use in some visuals and presentations here. So nothing otherwise relevant to what I'm going to take through you, right? So it's visually it's a visual identity if you look at how it is, And there is also a reason, because when you're building brands, visual identities are very critical, very important, right? So I'll talk about that. So I'll start a little personal here. The question, all of you can see, have you ever hit rock bottom? So before I get into business and specifics, have you ever hit rock bottom in your life? Has anybody felt, I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, more women, yeah, there is sir here. Anybody else? This side is very, very happy. Yeah, there are people. Okay, so I want to take you through a little story of mine before I get into, and there is a reason why I'm telling you this, okay? Like, all of you here, at least few of you here, I've also gone through. And this was when I was doing my graduation. I was doing my literature in Kerala, in one college called CMS College, which is one of the oldest campus in South India. It's over 200 years plus, okay. When I was studying, it was 175 years. So during my graduation first year in literature, like I said, I was outside of class all the time. Which means I was also involved in a lot of campus politics. Today, you may not be experiencing it at all. Those days for us, this was part and parcel of our life. There are 5% of us who are active in politics, campus politics, and there are 95% who comes and goes on the campus doing whatever they want to do. So I was active in campus politics, which means you do a lot of organizing things, there's that, everything. Also, there are a lot of political, frustrations and, clashes, conflicts, all that was part of it. So one day, I used to hardly attend classes, okay? But I used to attend classes of teachers who I used to like, or they used to like me. And why they used to like me is because I used to read a lot. So they buy books. I didn't have the money to buy books. So they give it to me immediately after reading. So I used to be like literally off class, reading books, all that. So then what happened? One of those classes where I like a professor, I was sitting in the class, suddenly I see, and it is one of the beautiful campuses. I would say I've been to so many campuses, one of the best campuses from a greenery perspective, natural environment, all that. So I was sitting there and suddenly somebody calls, Kamal, get out. So some commotion over there, I stepped out of the classroom and then I find a car coming inside a campus, a beautiful black ambassador car coming into a campus. And those days, cars were a luxury, right? So a man stops the car and goes to meet the principal there. Suddenly, a set of people, students, my own friends, everybody, started attacking the car. Typically, if you can call it a vandalistic act, typically breaking down the car. It was such a beautiful car, it was not breaking only. But then, yeah, everybody was trying. So I was also in that part of group which were calling people to do something. I didn't know what it was. So I also called people. Then I realized something was happening. I didn't know why and what and all that. Then what happened? Everybody left. Commotion, everything is over. Then I felt a little guilty there, saying that, I'm a leader and I didn't do anything. I called people. So shouldn't I be doing something? So a false ego, whatever it is, came up and I said, I also went and kicked one of those slides and broke it. Okay. So it happened over. I went back to my life, went back home. Next day morning, my neighbor calls up and says, they come with the newspaper, which is the biggest newspaper in Kerala, called Malayalam Manorama, which is much bigger than an Inadu, if you can relate with that. And my name and photograph is on the front page of the paper. Okay. Principal conspiracy to kill the principal, attempted murder, and so many things. And I'm accused 3 with my photograph and 2 of my friends in that. Okay. So then you ran to the party offices, whatever it is. And then we took whatever bail out, all that. The whole principals of Kerala came together and said, these guys need to be thrown out. All that happened, big things. And then obviously there was strikes, we were suspended, strikes, all that politics happened. And anyways, we were taken back after some time. And that is when I started feeling bad about what I did. What did I do? This was not my kind of education that I had. This was not my kind of upbringing that I had. And what did I do? And why did I do? I still didn't realize why I had to do all this. And then we didn't realize then, today when I look back at it, it was depression. You can call it the rock bottom. Many a times I thought about committing suicides to so many other things, all that happened. But then didn't realize it was depression because those words were totally not in our dictionaries those days. Today we talk about mental health. Everything is like, so connected there, and people who care about all those. So the point is, I was depressed, I was lost, I was wandering around the campus, and then suddenly one of the professors came and said, Kamal, what is this? Why are you doing this? This is not what you are, right? So I said, sir, what to do? This happened, and my parents are not talking to me, nobody's, all my good friends are not talking to me. So he said, come, let's look at rebuilding ourselves, let's do. So he started pulling me into other things like, we formed a debate club in the campus, we made a quiz club in the campus, we made a lot of career related orientation programs in the campus, which was very unheard of those days, right? So I got into that, so I started rebuilding my confidence, myself, all that back. Cut to what it is, when I was doing my final year of my degree, the campus was celebrating 175 years, and the campus decided to do one of the largest theatre in the campus, which was called King Lear, one of those Shakespearean plays, which is a very complicated 5 to 6 hours of complex things happens in that play. And the professor who was in charge of that, he came and asked me to read something in English. I read it. He said, you are King Lear, life 2-3 months of rigorous practices later on. And King Lear was staged in my small town, where thousands of people gathered, 5 to 6 hours, an English play to be played in a, literally, while it was educated city, etc., but your regional languages play a big role there, right? So went through, and what happened was, this is how it came. I'm just showing one of the newspaper cuttings there, and I was, whatever, And next day when I go to the campus, the principal comes and receives me. When I go to my literature department, I'm offered chairs and seats because King Lear is here. I was literally like a King Lear that time, the way I behaved, everything, because I lived that. That's how theatre completely changes you, transforms you. And the thing is that those newspapers, I'm talking about these newspapers who wrote about me a year back as one of the accused and thing, they all started writing similar write-ups across the biggest of the biggest newspapers, whatever media houses were there. And what also happened is, later on, Malayalam Manorama Group, which is your Inadu equivalent, a Sakshi equivalent of Madhrubhumi, I went on to head their businesses nationally in those newspapers. I've been on the front pages of the same newspapers in various initiatives they did later on. So life came a complete 360 there to be later on heading those institutions nationally, both large, big media houses there. So the whole point is, rock bottom became the solid foundation. Somebody had said this. This is to set the context, because all entrepreneurs go through this, not just individuals like us. Not any entrepreneurial journeys are great. You've heard so many of those big entrepreneurs committing suicide. Have you heard anybody like that recently of last 2 years? Yeah? Yeah, Cafe Coffee Day owner suddenly you all would have had or seen Cafe Coffee Day, right? One of the largest retailers on the coffee business. So he just, for whatever reasons it is, let it be whatever. But then I'm sure to commit a suicide is not a great thing. It cannot be for any good reasons, right? So people go through this. And for me personally also, this was one of those, if I can reflect on. So what I'm going to do now is to take you through some of those. I'm not talking about how do you create ideas for business, how do you build finances for your business, how do you build logistics for your business. I'm not getting into those because Bauer consistently organizes these kind of talks, which helps you to do that. So you must attend those sessions too. My role today is to talk to people or make how important is brand and brand related communication, etc. are very, very critical in businesses, right? So I'm taking the analogy of a flight here, okay? So are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, so let's buckle up. So we're going to take off through an exciting journey now. And just like a flight that takes off, right? Sometimes takeoffs are very smooth, but sometimes a lot of turbulence happens, right? Those of you who have taken flights, you will realize it. So today we will try to avoid the turbulence part of it because we will try to understand some of those best practices and strategies which are important when you really take off your business. So every great flight starts with a strong runway. right? You need to have a great foundation. A strong runway is very, very important in this. So we cannot imagine a pilot is going to tell you that, let's take off in the air and then we'll figure out navigation. Imagine how it will be, right? So it is important that we know what it is. Otherwise, what happens? It is definitely bound to be disastrous. The pilot goes up and and announces, let me just see where are the keys, where are the buttons, where are whatever, levers, etc., right? So what happens to all of us who are inside a flight? So you need to definitely have a strong plan before you take off, right? So what are those? Are you able to see this clearly, the slides? I don't want to be reading the slides, but yeah. So what is a flight plan when you look at from a business perspective, right? So one of the key things I'm saying, once you have your flight or your business in place, couple of things which are very, very critical as you start the journey is brand, the insights that you know about it, and of course, it is all about finally how you're able to implement it, all right? So, what is a brand? Any idea? What is a brand? Any thoughts? A symbol, yeah? A name, yes? A sign, yeah? I think now it's very women dominated, so let me hear some male voices. Normally it's the other way.
Brand is a sign or a symbol which differentiates from another business or a firm.
Yeah, it differentiates from one to another. Yeah, one business to another. Yeah, any other thoughts?
Policies and ideas.
It?
Policies and ideas.
Policies and ideas, yeah?
It represents our status.
Our status, yes.
A unique identity.
A unique identity, yes.
And an SIP that helps to recognize.
Yeah, whatever. It gets recognizable in whichever format. So what you said is all right. So it's basically what helps a brand. I don't want to further talk about what brand name, all that. Whatever you said is absolutely fine. Good that you all know this part of what a brand is about. Now, brand and the branding. Branding is things that you do around a brand, if you can call it in simple terms. So this is very, very important it's like, when you take off on a runway, you need that thrust to push you up, right? So branding are those elements which will help you to give that push or, help you with a strong takeoff there. So, and what does it mean here? So, it is talking about a startups, a businesses, vision, the way they see, as an entrepreneur, how do you see your businesses? It is also building emotional connect, right, with your consumers, whoever it be, B2B, B2C. It also helps you to create a differentiation from you versus somebody else in the marketplace, right? Now, it also ensures you to scale your business from small to medium to large, however you want it to be, right? So what we'll do is we'll just see some of those examples of how powerful brands are, how the mission, vision, all those things that we talk about, how it can work. I hope it works. Let's see if it moves. Yeah. So the videos might take a little time because straight from the internet. So guess what these products are, our brands are, so that Muskan, your phone. I think it has to be here. Is it taking time? Just give me a minute. Yeah, okay. This is it. This is a problem when you rely too much on technology, so you completely sabotage what you want to do. Yeah. Audible? Can you increase the volume there? Yeah. So you know it's Tesla, right? Yeah. So what does brand Tesla mean to you? Oh, it's moving again. Yeah. You've heard of Tesla, right? I'm sure, right? So what does it do? It is actually not talking about electric cars. It's giving a yeah, of course, it is selling electric cars, but beyond that, what does a brand actually do? You know, you're talking about tree huggers. You know, tree huggers, people who are environment friendly. You know, just to get a little feel of what a tree. But it's a very boring thing sometimes. So how do you make those sustainability, environment, all that talks around it, saving planet to be a little more interesting, right? So Elon Musk has done this brilliantly when he wanted to sell cars by giving a dream of speed, innovation, and saving the planet, making it look cool, right? Than a boring tree hugging story there. So that's what, and you can see all, you know, the idea is to sell the premier electric vehicle from boring, all those. I'm not reading up all this. Please go through the slides when you have to, right? So that's one of the brand. Let's see if this works. I wanted to guess what this is.
I will not.
No, once I start the commercial, tell me what it is. Yeah. Unless it is showing, it is already showing, sorry. Yeah. This is exactly what we don't like. But yeah. Would it help if I log in once again on the net? Yeah, I think it's working.
Don't go to Paris. Don't tour Paris. Don't go to the same places and take the same pictures. And please, don't do Paris. Live there. Because when you live in Paris, you have your own home. Cook, make your bed. You know, the stuff you normally do.
Sorry,
Don't go to LA.
bear with
Don't
this.
go to New York. Don't go to Tokyo. Live there. Live in Malibu. Live in the East Village. Live in Ibisu. Know someone. Pretend you do this all the time. Have your own neighborhood. Feel at home. Anywhere. Wherever you go, don't go there. Live there, even if it's just by night.
That's the volume that we have? Okay. So, have you ever tried Airbnb in your life? Have you heard of Airbnb?
Yes.
Have you ever tried while traveling? No? Okay, so what does Airbnb do? You know, earlier days, if you were to go and stay in a stranger's house, it was a bad decision. And what is it today? If you go and stay in an Airbnb, why do you not stay in a hotel and stay in it? Pardon?
Freedom.
Strangers to stay in their house.
Yeah, you allow a stranger to stay in your house.
You pay the stranger to stay in their house.
In the house, yeah, so you make money out of that. Yeah, that's one way, that's a business angle to it. But from a from a user's experience, you know, so it is an experience more than an accommodation or a hotel stay, right? So it is not anymore staying in a stranger's house is not anymore a bad idea at all. It is a travel experience is what it has become today. So how do they do it? So, and by getting into this core proposition of saying belong anywhere and live there and making every home in every country, every corner of the world as places of your own homes, you know. So you made all these fantastic homes into beautiful business places, which is giving you traveling experience. That's how the whole brand got changed, right? And also, like I said, Staying in a stranger's place is a bad decision. Why? Because you don't know what comes in those places. So you need to build the trust factor into it. How does the trust factor works here in this place? Through verifications, through endorsements, what people give about the ratings, whatever you call it. And that network is so beautiful and much more reliable than sometimes any police verifications or any policy verifications, document verifications, right? So, and when you stay in somebody's house, you're also allowed to be little nosy to see how, you know, they decorate the homes, etc. And you get to know all these different cultural things about how people think and, you know, all those things across the world, which you don't get if you stay in a hotel, right? There's even more a crazier business model which used to be there, rather a traveling experience called couch surfing, which was before Airbnb, but it was a free stay hosting and guest part of it. But then Airbnb converted into a business model, right? I don't know whether these videos will play, but anyways, while it plays, I'll tell you. All of you use Zoom? Yes. Classrooms, right. So I was in Silicon Valley in 2018 to meet some of those startups and some of the large organizations in the tech world. So after meeting with one of the startups, they sent me a link saying that, you know, let's connect later once you're back in India. And they sent me a Zoom link. Okay, 2018. I just rubbished it. How to connect with it. And then just 2 years later, this became part of our lives.
Homing crispy message. It's approved. You're renovating. Is that a sledgehammer?
Connect your team with Zoom One, featuring team chat, phone, and more.
So what did Zoom do? Zoom, today it is completely synonymous with video conferencing anywhere in the world. Probably the timing was good for them if certain things were not good in certain context of COVID, but some of those, that also meant a lot of opportunities for a lot of people, and we all got converted into Zoom during the COVID time. Today it's part of our lives, right? And what makes it different from the rest of those platforms are, it is a frictionless, so smooth, easy to use, all that, right? Which makes it one of those. So they've built it so that, you know, it is being part of our lives without any efforts today. Now, another example of, I'm showing you all this because, you know, these are all things which we see today, which we are experiencing, and how brands have actually changed our lives by picking up certain consumer insights, which I will come into that. How many of you use Spotify for music? How many of you don't like music? I'll put it that way. Anybody who don't like music? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, there are still 5%. So universally, 90% of the people in the world love music. Okay, so there could be 5 to 10%, if at all, who doesn't like music or whatsoever. When I say music, it is not the hip hop or the rock or whatever it is. Yeah.
Look, yeah. So what's on your Spotify? I have Bollywood, hip hop, rock.
I listen to music. Like you've never even heard before.
Oh, you're one of those.
Like Depressed Lollipop Asylum. They're deep, deep, deep underground.
Underground like Mumbai Metro.
Aww, so desi.
So, what else?
And I love this band called
Girl.
Grab from the epiglottis. Grab. Think like Vaporwave with 90s dial-up modem sounds. Super chic.
Okay, where can I hear them?
Oh babe, you can't. They play in frequencies only rich people can hear.
Okay. So let's see what's on your Spotify.
No. Stop. Okay, I lied. This is my most played song. I miss my ex so much. Okay, where did you go?
Deep underground.
Okay, I'm skipping this because it's again take time. So how many of you, okay, so most of you use Spotify. How many of you use it without ads? Very few, because you're... Okay, yeah. So otherwise, your parents have not allowed you to rather pay it and use. Okay, yeah. So, yeah. So what makes Spotify? There's so many other music apps in the world, right? Including Apple, all that. But what makes Spotify is that if you're a regular user of Spotify, they came up with some of those things like the Discover Weekly and the Wrapped, all that, so they understand. Now when you look at your music or your Spotify, it gives you the kind of music that you like more than what you know about your music sense. More than your best friend would talk to you about what music it is. So there is so much of personalization which you like about it. Now after listening to a song, what would be the next song that you... So a lot of AI comes into it in terms of understanding what you are, where you are, and then doing a lot of classifications. They call it as a rap in that sense, right? So today you are addicted to Spotify, those music lovers, right? Yeah. So what makes a strong brand? Right? So that's why we wanted to see all these things. So I want all of you know Elon Musk?
Yes.
Okay, have you listened to what he speaks? Have you listened to have you read his tweets? Do you? Some of you follow it, right? So I'll come to that. So what makes a strong brand? Couple of points here are, the way that you are envisioning your business, right? The mission, the vision, like I said. Somebody was telling about what is a differentiator, which is what we call as USP or a UVP, unique value proposition there. Then the identity, some of you are talking about the visual identities, how it makes it recognizable from the rest, right? Also the tone and the voice and the way of things being communicated to all of you. These are some of those points which makes a brand stronger. So I don't know if this works. This is an interview with Elon Musk, which is interesting. I just want you to listen to a minute of the video, if it works.
Sir, if you allow me, should I share my notes?
I think the building also has a trouble.
How are you?
It's okay, I think we'll manage.
I mean, we're here at the Texas Gigafactory for David. Before this thing opens, it's been pretty crazy out there. Thank you so much for making time for a busy day. I would love you to help us kind of cast our minds, I don't know, 10, 20, maybe 30 years into the future, and help us try to picture what it would take to build a future that's worth getting excited about. You've often said it, the last time you spoke with Ted, you said that was really just a big driver. It's, you talk about lots of other reasons to do the work you're doing, but fundamentally, you want to think about the future and not think that it sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general...
Please listen to it carefully.
There's a lot of discussion of like this problem, that problem, and a lot of people are sad about the future, and then they're pessimistic, and I think this is just not great. I mean, we really want to wake up in the morning and look forward to the future. We want to be excited about what's going to happen, and life cannot simply be about sort of solving one miserable problem after another.
So if you look forward 30 years, this year, the year 2050 has been labeled by scientists as this kind of, almost like this doomsday deadline on climate. There's a consensus of scientists, a large consensus of scientists who believe that if we haven't completely eliminated greenhouse gases or offset them completely by 2050, effectively we're inviting climate catastrophe. Do you believe there is a pathway to avoid that catastrophe, and what would it look like?
Yeah. So I am not one of the doomsday people, which may surprise. I actually think we're on a good path. But at the same time, I want to caution against complacency. So long as we are not complacent, as long as we have a high sense of urgency about moving towards a sustainable.
Yeah, so you heard him. There are 2 points on that. One is that the future, while everybody says it's doomsday, all the whole world is going to end, so many things, it is also somewhere connected to how the planet is getting impacted, right? So he's combining these two. Is he a scientist, Elon Musk? Is he a scientist? No, he's a businessman. He's a hardcore businessman. But imagine how he's building narratives on his business, right? He's a hardcore businessman who's thinking future, who's inspiring us to see how the future would be, right? So he's talking today about future is really good. And also there are certain things that are concerning, and he's trying to build a narrative on those two. So by selling electric cars, what are we talking about? We are talking about so many things which are damaging the planet today, and thereby narrative, and thereby that while he's selling electric cars as a business, but in the process he's making a cause which is about saving a planet, which is very, very cool, right? That's brand building at one of its finest. Imagine if you were to just say that I'm going to sell some stuff and make money. Does it inspire? No, right? So there has to be something inspirational that we all have to look forward to, right? So that's what is an entrepreneur's. While all of you have your ideas in your mind at this point, in your heart at this point, this is how you need to see through it. And because this is very, very critical as you start building on those thoughts and processes. What do you want to do with your business? It is not just about making money, of course. It is definitely part of it, but what else? What is the difference your business is going to make in the environment that you're going to operate, right? So this is another new age thing which all of us are caught in. How many of you watch Netflix? Are you allowed? Okay, at least I can see. So some of those who don't watch Netflix, why don't you watch? Can I know why? Pardon? Nothing new to watch. So something new comes, you will watch, right? Anybody else who says, I don't like Netflix?
Documentary.
Maybe something different this week.
You know any good mysteries?
Something with some cool accents.
We'll just scroll.
Oh no, not to scroll. These people are really about to push my buttons. Here we go. Oh, would you knock it off with those giant thumbs?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're just looking for something to watch.
You never thought that maybe pushing my buttons all day was going to be harmful to me? You take orders from me now. I'm going to show you a little thing called play. Ow, stop.
Sexy.
People, you just slayed 2 seasons of this. Okay, focus up. With Play Something, Netflix will drop you right into a new show or movie. And it's all based on what you've watched. Your Majesty, our friend here was in the Duke's chambers every night last week, okay? Please, if
You
you...
watch Bridgerton without me.
The costumes are just so beautiful. I got
You love the costumes.
I do.
You love the sex.
It was also good.
I will throw myself under these cushions and you will never find me.
Do what it says.
Play Something.
Mysterious looking.
Sometimes the best choice is not to choose. I'm sorry that I'm so sensitive. I'm an empath. A lot of people use that these days, and I know that it's BS, but I truly am.
Yeah. So what did Netflix do? So they said that, watch anything, anytime, wherever you are, right? Instead of going and watching whatever somebody else want to show me at prime time of 8 p.m., let me watch whatever I want at my time, wherever I am, right? And ideally, if it can be without ads, So complete total entertainment without any kind of interventions at all, or any kind of ads in between. And that way, a lot of people who were otherwise, if you want to be watching a cricket match, you know how many ads you have to go through, right? Sometimes, right? If you want to watch any primetime shows, how many ads you have to go through. So if that is a pain point, Netflix wanted to clear that and say that, it's absolutely total entertainment without any ad interventions there. So that's the UVP that they want to, rather the unique value proposition what they brought in. Now, this is one of the most favorite examples on brands all around the world. Yeah? Coke? Anybody who don't drink Coke here? Pepsi, Coke, or any aerated? There are some of you. Very good. I'm sure there is some reasons why you don't. There could be also reasons related to, all the new age thoughts about why you should not be drinking aerated drinks. Probably healthy drinking habits, right? So I'll just show you the commercial on that. Yeah, so Coke, all of you know, right? So the whole color, you can't, even in the midnight, if you're woken up and said you are shown some red and white, that's how the brand thinks about themselves. Red and white has to be nobody else's business. It has to be only Coke and nobody else. So that's the way, if you look into certain elements of those brands, the color, the logo, the classic red and white colors which are used, the color palette of red color signifying energy, all these are connected to certain emotions of or energies of ours. The typography, you will always find the Spencerian is a script that they used. The packaging, the bottle, which is curved bottle, it's definitely, wherever you see, it's a Coke bottle. And advertising always talks about joy, family, togetherness, all that. Now, imagine the fact that a Santa is red and white. Imagine if you see a Santa in a yellow and a blue, do you think it's a Santa? No. And actually, do you know the fact that the Santa story, what we talk about, the reindeers and the red and the white, all the snow, all those gift things which are related, all these are not there at all in this world as real, right? These are actually a story which is, there was always a kind of, a folklore or whatever around the Santa. But what we see visually today, as Santa coming, gifts, all that is something the Coke has actually created over years of narrative. And why did they do it? Santa is completely a red thing today, right? And why did they do it with a Santa? Any idea?
Christmas feels like joy.
Christmas feels like joy, yeah, that's a thing. But otherwise, from a business perspective, this is the coldest time, across the world. And yeah, so the business is down. People don't drink Coke during the winter times, right? So your business is down, so how do you build that? You can't afford 3-4 months of not anybody drinking Coke. That's like a phenomenal loss of business, right? So how do you build it? It can't be done over a year. It's a cultural change which they brought in so every Santa story will have or every gift thing will have a Coke which is planted somewhere or the other, right? And the color. So everything is built around the red and the white, and the whole stories which we think as a fantasy today is all through a complete, it's a cultural narrative which they've built in. It is not to get into any particular religions there, but it's a cultural thing. We all love Christmas, irrespective of our religions, because the kind of joy, the kind of warmth it brings in. And from a business perspective, it was the winter time, sales going down, so you need a large push. You need to have a make-believe story, otherwise for people to believe and start drinking Coke even during the coldest of the winter times, right? So, yeah, this is something again which is part and parcel of, I don't know how many of you are iPhone users here. Anybody with iPhones? Yeah, so look at that. So you're affording an iPhone even now. I'm sorry about this delay on the internet front. Yeah. Oh, shit, it's bad. Yeah, so what does that... Okay, I think I shall not play this one too, but yeah. So does iPhone says that my phones are good? Yeah. So where is it gone now? I think... Yeah. So does iPhone ever tell you my phone is, I make good phones? Do they ever, have you ever seen iPhone telling that I make great phones? My phones are...
Secure phones.
Yeah, they talk about some of those features which are converted as benefits to people. Today, what is the biggest problem that you all have? Nobody should take your phone. If they take your phone, they should not be able to see what is in your phone, right? So that is one of the biggest insights. So just touch upon that. They don't have to say my technology is great or whatever, all that is understood there. Even when your iPhone is so well working, you want to change your phone when the next one comes in. You think there is something which is inadequate in the way that my phone will work, I probably will. And also there is a lot of attitude that it gives you when you're holding an iPhone or when you're using a Apple or a Mac, whatever you call it. You know, whether how much you use it is different, but it also adds to your personality, right? When you have an iPhone. So how do they do that? You know, so it is all built. While a Samsung would come and tell you this particular phone will give you a sleek, all that things they'll talk about. iPhone doesn't say that, right? And so are the iPhone users too.
Sir, it depends totally on the people's thing.
Absolutely. So they don't worry about the rest of the people. That's the point.
Yeah.
Either there is iPhone or no iPhone. Whatever the rest of the universe use, they're not bothered. What you said is right, but unfortunately that's not the way they look at things there, right? Yeah, so what are we trying to say here? We're trying to say that insights are very, very important in businesses, or especially when it translates into communication, insights are very, very critical. So if you look at, imagine if you were to run a startup as a flight, if you see it, and if you don't have a dashboard, what happens to your flight? Obviously, it is going to hit a mountain or wherever it is. And what helps you to stay clear on your course of flight? It is, in a business, what we call it as the data, right? The data, if you continuously look at how the data is created, if your values, your businesses are, agile to watch the data and make those change of course corrections as and when it is required, it works. So all that and that is what we call as insights in our business. Now, the biggest thing is, you can have insights, you can have a great brand, etc. But what if you're not able to put those things to use, which we call as implementation or execution, right? So we can have, great dreams, great takeoff, great insights, etc. But if it is all like how we are saying, my thoughts and dreams are all fantastic, fabulous, but it is all, I'm containing it all inside me, like how you are nurturing your business ideas today. It someday need to get out, right? You need to someday take it out and see whether it is working or not. So unless otherwise, these ideas are so cheap, it is of no use if it is not implemented. So execution is one of those very, very critical things. And how many of you use Amazon? to buy things? Okay, how many of you in your homes or wherever you are, somebody or other uses Amazon? Does anybody who doesn't have anyone around you who doesn't use an Amazon at all, for whatever it is? So all of us in one way or the other are connected with Amazon for various things. It could be buy things, it could be listening to movies, it could be so many other things that we, from a business perspective, AWS, which is an Amazon-powered web services, right? So there are so many things. So, but when we were like you, Amazon was known as a what?
Forest.
Amazon, yeah, that we learned in geography, yes. But after that, as a business, what was it doing?
It was a website for selling goods and services.
Goods and services, not exactly. Anybody?
Books.
Yeah, it was selling books. Essentially, it was an online store selling books. Today, do you connect it to selling books? You don't, right? So imagine how the world has changed. So today, every business is trying hard to get people to walk into the store. Amazon says, please don't come to my store. I don't want you to walk into my store. I'll get everything delivered where you are, whatever that you want to buy, right? So how from a transition from an online bookseller to today selling everything that you want in the world to also creating. And so what actually made Amazon successful? Anybody, any idea? How did they translate selling books? Everybody sells a lot of things on the online, right? So what was very, very changing or different for Amazon to have made a very successful business model? What did they realize when they were into this business of selling things online?
They had trust from previous customers.
Trust, of course, yeah, that anybody would need because you are paying money online. But beyond that, what made them to actually make what they realized? What do you think? When you're buying an order, when you're making an order online, after that you starts pounding, no, when it will get delivered, when is it coming? You will check every time, tracking, where is it gone? Has it reached the, wherever? So you want it to be, it is 4 days later, but sometimes every half an hour you'll go and check, has it started moving? So what it means, it is logistics. How fast can I get it, right? So they completely moved the business from, while offering everything online, they realized logistics is one of the key things. So they completely transformed the logistics space, making delivery much more easy, accessible to you. It is not free delivery, right? You are also willing to pay for delivery if required. Either it is combined into what you buy or sometimes you are charged, but you're okay paying those things, right? So they realized if you have to be an online store, logistics plays a key role. It is not about how fancy offers you make alone that works. And then what they realize also is that if they have to hold, this is like one world commercial store, right? Everything in the world under one. At the best of rates, at the best of volumes, whatever that you think about, the best of comparisons that you can have with various competitive things that you want to do. So AI is brought into that. They've realized this requires a separate network altogether. So they built what we call as AWS, Amazon Web Services. And what they built it for them. But what a smart businessman do is, like how he was referring about the Airbnb, you also made others to use it and pay for it too. So today, what I showed as Netflix, similarly, a lot of large businesses run on AWS, paying them for what they built for their own business. So it is one of the most commonly used platforms for various businesses to operate, right? So, and all this, it is not that they've not gone through failures. In startup world, we all talk about failures, fail fast, all that we try, right? So there are so many failures which even Amazon had. It was not that everything was a smooth story for them, right? But the way, for example, you heard of this Amazon Fire, the Fire Sticks. It went off, they put so much of money, they did so much of promotions around it. Today it is not there at all. There are so many things they've tried. They've tried Amazon stores on the go where there is no cashierless people. So you just scan and go and it gets delivered to you. You don't have to pay there on the time. But those are all sometimes giving an edge over to say that you are technologically savvy, to say that you are innovating all the time so that the brand, because when you order from an Amazon, you also feel you are cool. You know, like how you hold an iPhone, you know, there is, when you are using a Mac, there is a lot of attitudes of the brand that you all absorb. So Amazon wants to be on top of that. So in spite of a lot of failures, they've ensured that they've come over that and they keep trying in one small place, test it out in one market and then take it globally there. That's some of the execution strategies which has been working for them well. Yeah.
So what do you think, Amazon in future, will it be as the in the same position as it is, because it has many competitors like Blinkit, Meesho,
Absolutely.
Flipkart.
Yeah. So Amazon takes 3 days to deliver. Now,
Yeah, Blinkit is taking just
15 minutes. So that's again, people riding. So that's exactly what consumer is. So no business is forever. No business is forever, as in the way they operate it today. It will change, obviously. So Zeptos are there, your Blinkits are there, your Swiggies are there, Zomatos are there. Sometimes you wonder, you make an order, 10 minutes they deliver food. So is the food already made? Don't you have to make the food, and how do you deliver it when you make it in 10 minutes? But then there's a promise of delivery, and most of the time, if you go by that, you get 100 rupees extra as additional points. Because most of the time they fail, but that's a strategy. I remember when we were traveling in those days in some of the best hotels, and if you, a customer service promise was that, let's say you order from the room, it comes in 30 minutes, right? And very often it happens that the food comes at the 31st minute. And it comes with an apology, sorry, we are 1 minute late, so this is on the house. So you think, oh, this is great, fantastic. But is it a planned one? Mostly, if you think about it, it's a very planned strategy. So that you will talk, today I'm talking about it. Even today I'm talking about something which happened to me 20 years back. Because I was not expecting 1 minute, who cares, right? But to give that thing on the house. So sometimes when you look at those Swiggy and Zomato orders which promise you deliveries in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and if they fail, they know it might fail because of all the traffic and things around, and they will give you a compensation. But that helps them to stick to that particular app again and again. That's what, you call it loyalty, you call it affinity, whatever the terms that you want to use. Now I want to tell you two more examples which I have worked on. One, this is a station that I worked, a radio station that I worked. This is about an insight, okay? This is one of the outdoor communication that we, only pure outdoor. The station was called as Radio Mango. So what do you get from this? What do you understand from this?
Radio company.
Yeah, it's a radio station talking about it. Let be any radio station. Forget about the mango aspect of it. But what does the communication tell you?
It's saying that the way is just 3 songs away from your house to airport.
Correct. So what does it mean? 3 songs away means what? 10 minutes, 9 minutes, correct? So what is time for you otherwise? For all of us, time is always a pressure. Oh, I have to be there on time. I have to run to the airport in 15 minutes, otherwise I'll miss it. I have my deadline to deliver a presentation. So time is mostly, when we look at music, so I'm just giving an insight of how businesses worked. When we looked at what radio station, every radio station plays a music, right? Almost similar music. There's not too much of differentiation in the way that radio stations play music. So then it's the brand that stands different there. The way a brand would communicate will make it different there. So we said, if you are consuming music, what are you consuming music for? You want to relax, you want to be happy, you want to be chilled out, you want to be cutting off from the world, the worries, all that. If that is an insight, and if time is on the other side seen as a pressure thing on you, every time, time is about pressure. So can I put music into a time? Can I convert the distance measured instead of time as music? And all of us know music is played, one song is what, 3 to 4 minutes. Now, imagine you're rushing to the railway station or to the airport, and another 30 minutes you have to reach. You're constantly checking, am I on time, am I on time? But then, does it make any difference you checking your phone? No, right? You keep asking, will I be on time? It is not going to help you. You better relax and take that 30 minutes by saying that let me just listen to another 5 songs. By the time 5 songs are over, I am at the airport. Nothing is going, the world is not going to change. Let me just listen to music. So this I'm showing because this is one of the most, within the radio stations, universally, it has won so many awards internationally as a very simple, clean message, which is understood universally, translating a pressure thing called a time into a very, very enjoyable reference of music, which is what very, very personal, it gives you a lot of freedom.
You are basically playing with your mind.
Absolutely. So distance, time, and take it to music there, right? I hope this works. I think this would be the last commercial I want to play. So this again I'm showing because I worked on this brand a lot, which is the Hutch, which later became Vodafone. Do you know who are the actors in this? Yeah, you can see it here.
In this beautiful world, green grass, blue skies. In this beautiful world, you and I, winding lanes as dreams go by. You and I, in this beautiful world. You and I, in this beautiful world.
Yeah. Have you seen this ad? Yes. Somewhere? Yeah? No? Okay. So that's one generation before, probably. So Vodafone you would have seen somewhere, right? So what does it say? What do you understand when the analogy of a dog and a boy, or a dog and a human being, right? So why is it used here?
So it's connected. It's showing, it's following everywhere where it's going.
Yeah, you are there, your network is there, right? So that's a simple thing. But on the other side, look at what the communication brief was. Every mobile operator, be it Airtel, your Idea, or whichever operators, they were all claiming that my mobile towers were the best. My network uses the best of technology. I have 100 towers, you only have 50 towers. But to a consumer who is using a mobile phone, that was not the concern at all. They didn't understand that complex technology business. They just wanted to use the phone wherever they wanted, right? So the brief was that while mobile technology is very complicated, very complex, can do so many things, make life efficient, etc., as a consumer, how would you want to connect to them? And what is the best way of storytelling to make it very, very simple thing? Now you're not thinking about, a dog is a universal thing. The relationship between dog and human beings are very, especially with a boy and little kids. It's understandable across the world, right? You don't have to tell more about it. And actually, if you see, when you walk, the dog follows you. That's how it is, right? So it's a simple analogy used to make a complicated technology to how it can actually impact your life, how it can follow your life, right? So we all wish sometimes we all had these kind of pugs or dogs to solve all our problems on various things sometimes. So what is it that we wanted to conclude here is the strong brands, if you see, they all build trust, right? Or what we in marketing terms call as make them believe, make people believe, right? Which is what trust is all about, right? So if you look at all the strong brands or the great brands, they are all built on trust. And trust is not built over one day. It has a continuous engagement that you do. Second is insights, how important insights are in your journey, in the journey of your businesses, because a lot of people keep guessing what their insights are. What I think you would be thinking is what I guess, right? So it cannot work like that, because guessing is never seen as a strategy at all. It has to be data, it has to be data driven. And like I said, execution is what it is all about. Otherwise, Ideas are there everywhere, doesn't matter. Actions are what matters. And end of the day, it's about sustainable growth that matters, because it is not about the speed of how you want to do your business. It is about how sustainably, how you scale your business so that at every point in time, and Amazon is one of the best examples of how you can build a strong business. It is not about having a large business around the world. It is about having a very strong business built on very fundamentals of looking at the customer and what they want to be doing, right? So that's what it is. So if you have any questions, and if I know, I will be happy to answer. Yeah.
So you said that no business is forever. So what is a way to make it long term?
So precisely. So I'll tell you what. For example, like I was mentioning that I went to Silicon Valley, went to Google, Facebook, all of them. And when I went into Google, I was thinking I would be meeting up with a lot of techies, the coders, right? But I hardly found people. They might be there somewhere. But the people whom I met were all scientists. We're all scientists who are working on environment, working on planet, working on space technologies, working on gene technologies, because they know that if this business has to survive, there are so many angles to it. It is not about just providing a technology solution over the internet. While some of the biggest business revenues for them is advertising, but advertising is consumed, not everything sells on rationalities. There's a lot of emotional things a lot of psychologists working in that space. So they are not building something to last for one time of an internet era. They are probably trying to build something which is going to last, because they're looking at combining all those things which are going to impact our future. So those kind of thinking, hopefully Google will survive, is what I hope. Or how Amazon has actually changed the course of action every now and then. For example, where I come from, which is Times of India, which is almost 190 years old company, for it to have, today you might not be reading papers, but life is probably will come 360 degrees. Sometimes tomorrow you would be the first one to pick up a newspaper and read it after a couple of years, who knows? But then what I can say is that if a business has stood for so many years, definitely there is something right about what they're doing. And we can only hope that if they're looking at what customers are thinking, they will be in the right place. Yeah. Can you know your name?
Hamza Khan. Hamza Khan.
Hamza Khan, okay.
Sir, can I know your very best memories and very worst memories so that we could have experience in our future?
Of what? Memories of?
Like related to business.
So many worst memories, hardly any good memories to speak. Because that's how it is. Like I said, when I showed you the first slide on that rock bottom, it is not that after college life is all hunky-dory. It was never. Every stage in life was always hardships, and you have to go through all this at every stage. When you think it is over, the next will come. So in business, you will definitely find nobody's business runs so happy every time. So that is part and parcel of, there are so many instances where, for example, to tell you a story of how when I landed in advertising, for example, I was in Bangalore, a small town person, a boy from a village going to Bangalore, completely cosmopolitan town, and you're getting into an advertising agency, which is very glamorous, right? But once I reached there, I realized I was totally out of place. I could not speak English, I could not communicate well. Everybody was, though I realized later that a lot of Malayalis in that office, nobody ever told me that they are a Malayali. They wanted to put me down for whatever it was. So I used to be like, what do you call? In agency works with the clients, right? So some of the clients, like let's say Hutch, for example, was one of our clients. So I used to handle that account. And one of my clients was a very difficult guy. And I will show certain creatives to him, he will throw it out. He'll just literally, boom, he'll just, throw it out and say, get out, I don't want to see you. And then you go back to the agency, you don't know how to sell your communication. We work so much hard to create an ad, and you're just coming back and saying that the client doesn't like it. But why don't he like it? Here the client is not giving me a reason, he's just throwing it out. So imagine the life as a junior in a glamorous space, young boy of 23, 24-year-old, and you have a lot of women, good-looking women also around, all the more adding to your insult and, insecurities in life. So it was a very tough time. So once I went to the client, I showed him something, and he there was some other girls around him. So he started insulting me and all that. Then finally, I thought, this is not done. Someday, probably, something happened to me that I pulled a creative back from him, and I said, I don't want to work with you anymore. And I walked out. I got into the rickshaw, coming back to the agency, I realized, what the hell did I do? This is like, my account is gone. This account was created, or rather won by a lot of senior people in the agency, and I'm like a rookie young boy who doesn't know anything at all. And I have walked out of the biggest client in my agency. So I know by the time I reach my agency, I'll be like chopped into pieces, whatever you can call it. So I went there to the agency. It was a Saturday, so not many people were there. My boss was not there. I went to meet I could not sit. I went to the bathroom, and that's what my place was in the agency, to go cry every day. So again, I did that. But then I had to tell somebody about this, right? It's a big business problem. So when finally to the GM, I said, I want to meet you. He said, no, wait, I'm in a meeting. Then you can't stand, you're like shivering, no? And then I again knocked the door. Then he realized there was some problem. And then he said, come in, and sat down, and he tells me, what's the problem? So I said, this is the problem. I think I've done a mistake. I'm fine. I'm willing to give my resignation. Then he listened to it for a while, and probably he would have heard my story also, that I was bullied and ragged throughout in the agency, whatever it was. But he didn't have to interfere in those days. So then he went out of the room and came back. Suddenly he called all the people in the office. Then I thought, oh, one more. So then he came close to me, and what he did was quite surprising. He hugged me, he shook my hands and said, if we wanted, my agency was called as contract advertising, and he said, if we want people, this is the kind of people that you want. And if he had not walked out from that client place, I would have sacked you, is what he said. I said, oh, shit, can I believe what I heard? Did I not do a wrong thing? But then that is where sometimes people intervene and say, it is not, to hell with the ideas, to hell with the money, to hell with anything. If my team member, my people are not treated well, I care, that's what it was. And he called up the agency and the client and said, we don't want your account. Then he apologized. Then he took me out for lunch. Next day in office, everybody started talking to me. They started interacting with me. Life changed. So what I thought agency life was, what do you call as fun with the pants on, was literally like that from then onward. So to tell you a personal experience of how life sometimes change when you don't expect. Yeah. Name.
I've always been fascinated about the fact there is many news that comes to you. So which news do you publish on the first paper? How do you decide that?
Yeah, to clarify that, that's a fantastic way, when we don't understand how it works, because I don't belong to the editorial part of it, which is an editor's, journalist, expertise. But if you look at a daily paper of all the kinds, today if you keep a Times of India, an Inadu, or a Deccan Chronicle, or an Indian Express, Hindu, whatever it is, you will find if there are 10 headlines, at least 5 will be the same. They don't talk to each other. They don't know what the other guy is going to publish. But by and large, it is how it is. How do they decide that these 5 should be on the front page, something should be inside, etc., etc. So that's a sense what you get over. That is where experience matters. That is where you know what is the news. And imagine in a day, the number of news that somebody will get. And to fit all that into a 16-pager, that's also a task. All this news gets compiled in a newsroom in our office with all the journalists sitting together. They'll be going out by evening. Imagine across the world, there's so much of news that comes in. And in a span of 2 to 3 hours, you have to make the paper. You have to design the page, put visuals, put stories, analysis, editorials. All that has to be done in 2-3 hours. So that's a expertise the journalists have. So sometimes we all think we all are writers, right? We are all today good with writers. Also, you can use ChatGPT to make it look so good and neat. But the sense of a journalist is different from a good way of writing. They always care. Which is why it is called as a fourth pillar. It is after the three things, fourth pillar is journalists, and they're given that freedom to write what they want. If you ask, a lot of news are not fact-based. Facts comes later. But if I know that there is a problem, there is a scam, if I sense it, I have all the right to say that X, Y, Z has done something wrong. Maybe it may not be true. But that's a sense of a journalist, and most often it is right. That's what it is. So it works out of the sense of experience, all that they get. And there is a purpose of why they write. Yeah? Yeah.
A lot of businesses are based off of the human interaction, the human touch.
Yeah.
Since a lot of businesses are moving to AI or data-driven things, do you think losing that human touch is okay, or will AI catch up to it?
So this is typically that all of us worry about. I remember when I was doing my college, computers were coming in, and my state, Kerala, was all left and socialist things. The whole government, everybody was on a wharf. Computers will lose jobs, employment, etc. But then today I find those people who actually spearheaded those protests are using iPhones and laptops. So this is something which is always there. But for example, I don't know how many of you use ChatGPT. I'm giving that example because that's what is mostly used. But even when we put to ChatGPT, all of us use ChatGPT, it becomes clear, you use ChatGPT. It's very clear. Now, how are you different in that space? Obviously, your mind applies there. So nothing can remove that element of what. But there are certain things which can make life simpler, easier for us. If you don't know grammar of English, it's fine today. Doesn't matter. You can use it for that. But if you don't know a language sometimes, translations are possible, right? You don't have to really worry about how accurate the other person will understand what it is. So it is not going to, some certain jobs obviously might get erased, but then obviously it will bring in that's what all the experts says. And I think we have to believe it. Yeah.
Okay, so to build a strong brand, it's too costly. We need a lot of funds to be invested. So how we can build a strong brand with low cost?
So there are, see, when you want to build something cheap, only cheap things will come. Correct? That's why I said, you want to do a business selling some stuff, fair enough, you can do it. But if you want to build a brand and want people to buy it, if, for example, why do somebody buy a t-shirt paying $500? A simple white t-shirt. Like Vodafone, obviously you need to use all the medium, you need to have large amount of money to make it. But if you're a retailer, let's say working in Kukatpalli or in a Gachibowli, you can still be a Vodafone in Gachibowli using certain medium which are relevant to that place. A radio can probably come into that place, right? So there are some social media with a lot of targeted approach you can get your things done. Certain outdoors can help you. So there are multiple medium, how you mix it with the budgets that you have, and obviously your aims and aspirations, you can scale it up as you grow. But it is fine, all those mediums are available today. You need to know how to mix it. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah?
As you said that you do marketing for businesses,
Yeah.
what is the process of doing this?
What is it?
As you said that you promote businesses.
Yeah.
What is the process for this?
Promote business from Times of India?
Yes.
Okay, so do we have a newspaper with us today? Okay. Yeah. So I think I'm not carrying this citizen. Sorry, I don't not carry. So I didn't come to sell Times of India here, so probably that's why I didn't carry. But if you see Times of India, check out any paper today, you will find before the news itself there are large ads I think today's ads are, okay, somebody asked, yeah, thanks Pranay. Yeah, so, okay, this is not today's. So, I think this is a company which is based here only in this building called Amgen. It's a new pharma client which has been launched. It's a global pharma client. So, this is something that we do to build. Why do these people have to advertise is the question, right? The process, yeah. So the process is that now the process goes through what the client wants sometimes. So they were launching their business in India. Thanks. So they wanted to tell people that I'm here. I'm a global company. I'm going to be starting my operations in India. And sometimes what they also need is, they would have done all the R&D, all the team, everything is set. But obviously they need good people to come and join them now, which they would want to tell that, and they want to tell it nicely to get the best of the people. So no other medium better than putting it on a Times of India where educated, progressive, forward-looking, well-traveled people read the paper, right? So this is an imagery now. Any techie guy or let's say somebody from in the pharma background, when they see it, it becomes an aspirational one. So the process is that when they are thinking about this, how to reach out to people, how to talk about them to the city, they obviously reach out to us, or we know it, we also reach out to them, whichever ways it is. Then we understand what the client wants to do. Right? So they just wanted to put Amgen alone in that. So maybe this creative is created either by us or them or their advertising agency, whoever it is. And they're not going to be a continuous business. Probably they want to make an impact with what they want, which is why they would have taken the front page. It's huge money, but they're willing to put that money because they are large brands. They want the best of people to come in. So we do some negotiations with them. Sometimes they want to check out certain creatives, how it might come in the front page. Certain color combinations need to be worked out. So there are so many processes in that.
What is the approximately cost for it?
That's a secret. But yeah, so let's say if this kind of an ad in Times of India, if it has to come across the country, it will cost at least a couple of crores. So.
For per day?
It's a one-day thing only, Just a day. So why do you think iPhone advertises with us? One day when they advertise, the kind of business they get is huge. Why does Amazon, whenever they have an annual sale, they'll put it in the paper? Because that day, it boosts the complete sales figures. The only problem with this kind of a medium, like a print, is that it doesn't have a direct attribution to the views or whatever it is. Because on online, you can know, you click, you go, all those things can be tracked. In print, you don't have that. But then the way to track it is, on a particular day when you advertise, has it overall impacted business or not? In a couple of days, at least, if not one day. But that's a cost of one day. Yes, it's expensive. But it works.
How does a company gain the reputation of a luxury brand? Like, for example, Levi's, it was just a reliable jeans. Then how did it gain the reputation of luxury?
How did it get the Levi's as a luxury brand? So sometimes luxury is a different ballgame altogether. The people who buy luxury are sometimes, when you actually speak to them, their behavior patterns, their thought process are totally different. They don't want to be seen as any common man. If you look at let's say the billionaires of Hyderabad. Hyderabad has the highest number of billionaires in the country. Okay. You don't find anybody coming to a mall at all. None of them comes to a mall. We think all the luxury brands are there, right? But none of those people come to the mall. They probably do a mall purchasing while they're traveling in airports, or maybe when they go to some other city. But they will not come to a Hyderabad mall. So luxury is a separate segment altogether. The behavioral patterns, the aspirations, the way they associate with things are totally different. So a Levi's may not be a luxury to a luxury guy. Or because Levi's you and I can wear, right? Correct? You and I can buy a Levi's, but somebody who says, I am a different guy altogether, I'm not a common man. So I will not wear Levi's if I'm like that. So those brands are sometimes built not with advertising, sometimes with associations. What do you associate with? What are the causes that you connect with? What is the partners that you bring on board? Right? So, like I said, you buy a bag which is sometimes 500 rupees for 5 lakhs. So it is certain associations that you carry, which the brand also gives you as certain values you want to absorb into you.
Sir, how has time from India adapted to the world? Like you said, it is like 90 years, and every business needs change and agility.
Yeah.
So, what changes has types of India made throughout the years?
Yeah, for the question here, if I'm, how has times over 190 plus years, how did we continue to be in business where people talk about print dying, etc., is a common question that we face every day. Okay, every day when we meet a client, they'll say, oh, who is reading paper? Then why did you call me? Is the first question that we ask. Why did you call me? You know that you're calling me to put an advertising. You want to put an ad, then why did you call me? Because you know that people are still reading. And who are the people reading? The people who are reading are the people who have purchasing power, who have the money. And who are the people, at what age is when people have the kind of money to put a 2 crore for an ad? What age? Retirement. After 40, 35 plus? Yeah, so if the current generation may not be consuming news through newspaper, but even today, the people who matters in terms of spending that money still continues to read the paper. So what we do is, how do we keep connected with them, is the question, right? So when you are in Hyderabad, you have 101 ways of knowing what Hyderabad is doing. You know how the culture is, right? So what do you want to know? You want to know something that somebody else may not know, which is probably about what is happening in Bombay. What is happening in Delhi? What is the latest of the fashion things that are happening in the country, in the world? So, as a newspaper, we always followed a consumer who is a reader and with his aspirations, and we give him inputs which are required as per his new choices. Right? We continuously give, and the way that we also communicated also changed. The paper, from its looks and things, for example, see this paper is not ordinary paper. It is a glossy, colorful one, right? So a brand which is putting into it is able to showcase them in a much more richer way, right? It is not just about the 2 crores. Maybe I have paid 4 crores for this. So I'm different because I want to be little colorful and glossy and all that. So we've kept those aspirational things of the brands, and we've always converted into it. The way that we showcase news is different compared to the local regional papers. So sometimes we use new age lingos, what people use, short forms, all that. Sometimes the headlines will have a short form used. Not necessarily it has to be perfect English. Because we understand that the people are less of time to read. So earlier days, if a newspaper had 5 or 6 headlines, today it will have a 20 to 25 news, because you want to just probably only 5 minutes. Can I just browse what is happening? So we keep adapting, changing things.
So, as you said, you help business promote themselves. So other than like newspaper marketing, do you do something else like digital marketing?
Yeah, we have television. We have Times Now, Mirror Now, Movies Now, whole lot of television things depending on what you watch on television. We have radio, which is Radio Mirchi. We have digital, which is times.toi.com, et.com. We have vertical spaces like, if you want to buy real estate, what is a real estate one? No, what is a real estate portal? Magic Bricks, if you heard, if you want to buy and sell, that's one of the biggest platforms. On music, like Spotify, we had Ghana.com. So we are into multiple outdoors. If you go to Bombay, Delhi airports, the inside airport outdoors. So we split, that's again back to thing, what a consumer wants, a brand marketer wants. We have developed our assets and expertise in various media. So that's how we stay relevant. The Femina Fashion, Film Fair, certain events which are connecting with those kind of spaces. Some of the biggest business summits in the country, the biggest sports awards in the country. All these are probably part of our group.
Sir, is it public limited or private?
Private.
right?
Privately owned. Yeah. As of now, yeah.
Do you even have some specialization in sales, like salesman?
Who, me? Or, yeah, I'm a salesman.
No, I had
Or-
a question which
yeah.
I was thinking about 1 week to ask a specific person who could give me a correct answer for it.
Can you just,
My question is, like, you know the brand LV?
yeah?
Louis Vuitton. There's the one salesman is there and there are two customers. One customer is the person
Right.
who usually buys an watch or shoes around 12,000. And one of the customer is there who is thinking to buy the good for 1 CR. So whom will you approach first? The 12,000 one or the 1 CR one?
What would you say? You have somebody wanting to buy 100 rupees thing and somebody wanting to buy 1 crore. Whom do you want to spend more time with?
12,000. They're consistent customers.
Pardon?
They're consistent customers at 12,000.
Yeah. So those depends. That's what you're saying, depending on what you want to do over a period of time. Like if you go to an airport and see all these Louis Vuitton shops and all, you hardly find people buying anything there, right? But one sale probably in a month is good enough for them. Probably. I don't know what the sales figures
I
are.
wanted to know your point of view on it.
Depends on what my business is.
If you are standing as a salesman of Louis Vuitton, so whom will you approach first? 12,000 one or 1 CR?
Obviously, 1 CR1.
But still he is thinking, not yet sure.
So then that debate goes on. Agree. That debate can go on, right? But as a salesman, so now the trick of a salesman is nothing else. So you can have this conversation, right? This versus that, which one chicken or whatever, all those things can always be debatable. We can go on. But a salesman knows when to stop and go and close a certain thing, right? So that's a judgment of a salesman which comes over experience. So sometimes he might go with the 1 crore or the other one, depending on he knows.
No, because the 12,000 one, like Louis Vuitton has just 50 to 100 products rated for 12,000.
Yeah.
But for 1 CR he could go.
So to give you another perspective to that is that if a Louis Vuitton has 2 products, let's say 12,000 one and a 1 crore one, he wouldn't want to spend too much time on the 12,000 one because at 12,000 is not what his expertise is about, right? He probably might be offering a discount. So if you like the discount, pick it up and go. But rather I would invest my time and effort in building that 1 crore guy. Because the other one, the guy is aspirational wanting to buy, who might tomorrow build a 1 crore or buy a 1 crore product, but at this point is picking it up for the money that he can afford to, but probably not my customer at this point in time. So that's a choice that salesmen know how to manage that part. Sometimes all of us have realized is, when you go into some shops, they don't even look at you, right? They don't even look at you. They don't even answer what you are asking. They don't look, then you think what kind of business, because they're trained to see. Sometimes I stop wearing watch because I know all these luxury showrooms, what do? They look at your external appearance. One of the things to see is the watch. And if you're not wearing a 20 lakh or a crore worth of watch, obviously your time, the time that you give, so let them guess whether I'm a millionaire or not without wearing a watch. So things like that, so they'll probably see your shoes, your specs that you wear, all. Was it of any use?
Yeah.
Session, did you learn something? Any feedback that any feedback that you want to give back to me that you probably didn't know or you thought about something new? Anything?
So, I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, as a startup, when you're starting a startup, so what's the first key step we could take to build our brand in the market?
So actually the reason I told about my personal stories at work and all that is also, see, most of the startups are, today what we talk about startups are individual driven, right? So that startup founder that we called, sometimes what his thoughts, what his philosophies of life, his way of looking at people around, all that is sometimes the brand values. At the beginning of a lot of people's businesses, that's how it is built. So, if you want to scale your business to something else, you as a person also probably, I'm sure Elon Musk was a very, as an employer earlier, he was probably would have been a very rude guy. Probably, I don't know how good he was about, dealing with people in a lot more humane way, but I'm sure he has evolved because today he has become a larger than life figure. He's talking about humanity, he's talking about saving the planet, etc. So from a startup founder, while I was talking about, the thing what happened in college, at work, etc., is that, you need to hold what your values are very close to you. And that becomes your brand aspects at the beginning of your journey in life. So if it doesn't matter whether you can communicate well in English, whether you are dressed, whether you're looking good, handsome, all that doesn't matter. Certain other values which are inherent in you, you need to hold on to that for a long time and never lose it as you grow also. But for a lot of founders, this becomes their brand identities for a long time, which are what probably inspires people to join and work with them, and also to co-create things as somebody is going to be growing. So brand sometimes is not just, brand sometimes is like your friend. How much, for example, like I was saying, I want to buy an iPhone because it gives me a lot of other attributes which I don't want to talk about. It's a silent personality which I would want to say when I'm using an iPhone. I'm a cool guy, I'm updated, I am rich, I've arrived in life, right? Instead of a Internet Explorer which continues to tells me loading. That is not what I want. I want it to be like an iPhone. I want to be seen as listening to Spotify, not All India Radio, right? So all these are certain times brands tend to actually reflect, or not just reflect your personalities alone, sometimes to add a lot of value sometimes which you're not able to express yourself, right? So that's how brands work. Yeah, anything further? Any feedback? Otherwise, we are good to wrap. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. So I'll be happy to know some feedback if you have any time. So you can follow, that's my email ID, which you can connect to any of those social medias. And if you are there, please feel free to connect on anything, and please, we'll stay in touch. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Right, yeah. Oh, I think you are the judge on that. Okay, so people who, how do we give it now? I missed. Okay, I think I'll give it to people. You can share. I think this group, this particular row was very active, so please share it. I think that row also was very active. Thank you. This row was active, and this row too. So please.
We'll take a group picture.
Yeah.
So guys, please stop.
Come fast.
Maybe get on top of this, no? So the taller ones can go on top. Come faster.
Boys one side, then
Yeah, just.